Hey everybody, we're here. We've been talking backstage to Dylan. Most of you guys know Dylan from Veteran Aquatics and catching up and stuff. And I'm like, we need to let everybody else be hearing this stuff. So here we are. We may have a couple come in late. You know, it's Father's Day in the summer, so people have their lives. So, but we've got an awesome panel already started here. So for those that don't know, I'm going to bring Dylan up and.
Hi guys.
Veteran Aquatics, and just saying that we've known him for a while, and his channel's really taken off and grown. And he gave us a little bio in the description. Check that out if you hadn't. And I'm gonna let him talk because we don't have any topic or anything formal. He's one of us. He's got a fish room and breeds fish too. And so take it away, Dylan.
Yeah, so I've known Bob for a long time. When I started YouTube, Bob was already making videos, and I was this little teeny tiny channel. And I got to, know Bob through participating in live streams and stuff like that. He's even sent me fish in the past. He used to, post my links and kind of promote me to help me grow. And I remember the day I overtook Bob in subscribers.
Yeah,
awesome. It was a big thing. And now we're at almost 4,300.
Awesome.
Started November of 2019, so not even 3 years.
It's incredible.
I had people like you and Scott McLaughlin from King and Queen Cichlids, and back in the day, Michael from Michael's Fish Room. I had a lot of help. I didn't build this channel by myself, and I got lucky on a couple of videos. Like we were talking about before, where I live in Pennsylvania is like a mecca for fish keeping. There's a different club every 80 miles, so you can go anywhere in the state, any major area. You just got a club and a bunch of fish people.
Yeah, and Susie Q's in your club as well.
Yep, I've been to Susie's house before, actually. It was myself, Scott McLaughlin, and Michael's Fish Room. We were on a fish store hop kind of deal.
I remember a video or two about that.
Yep, Scott and Michael both posted videos. I was still pretty new, so I was just kind of hanging back, looking at all the fish. But yeah, that was pretty cool getting to see Susie's collection because she's got all kind of things, even reptiles, birds, fish.
Welcome, Pam. Sorry. Yes,
I actually got to meet Dylan last year for the first time.
Yep.
Where I met Dylan was at the Keystone Clash.
Well, that's going on again this year.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be big this year.
Skipper's got pretty involved in that, haven't you, Skipper, with organizing and so.
Oh, I don't have time for that. I mean, there's like 100 tanks in here. I got 2 kids, college, and a house, and a bunch of other animals. I'd love to. I'm just a vendor and a YouTuber while I'm there. If you guys don't know, the Keystone Clash is probably the biggest fish convention in the Northeast. It happens every September. Last year we had a small vendor room, but this year we have the huge room that was behind it, so it's going to be enormous. 3-day event, there's a show, there's an auction at the end, which is always a ton of stuff. So if you can make it up to Pennsylvania, look up the Keystone Clash on Facebook. It's worth making the trip for. You won't be disappointed.
No, you definitely won't. And yes, I have been involved with a little bit of the planning, not really real deep into it, but helping with the YouTube side of it. Also giving them my 2 cents on stuff, what I think that a lot of people would like to see. But it is a pretty awesome event. There's going to be quite a few YouTubers there this year, I'm pretty sure. One, myself, you got Jason, Kirk, Vinay. Dee Dee's going to be there. ABC Biotope said he's going to be there. There's quite a few people that's going to be flying in. Stephen P. Genevieve, back to her husband. Like, it's going to be nuts. And Chattanooga Ed is going to try to make it up. So it's going to be big this year, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I can't wait. Last year I got to meet LR Brett and Lisa from Kate. We're having a brain fart. KG Aquatics, KG Tropicals. There we go. Lisa
Yeah.
from Baby Tropicals was there. So that was pretty cool. I got to see people that I've been watching on YouTube and like meet them in person. So that was fun.
There's one of our panel members in the chat, Chattanooga Ed. He's had a pacemaker or other cardiac procedures lately, so he's not up to being here with us, but he's in the chat. Thanks, Ed. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, maybe that's his last surgery.
So how many fish tanks you currently have in your fish room there?
We're approaching 100.
Wow.
Woo. And what's the main type of fish that you have?
Start naming them.
Everything.
Everything. So I breed, I sell, I do all the swaps. Like I said, there's a lot of fish clubs around here, so there's a lot of club activity. So I go to all the different swap meets and stuff like that, and the Keystone Clash. I've actually bought 2 vendor spots this year because I need the space.
Oh, wow.
Put everything out on the table. So my love is Pistos and other dwarf cichlids, right, like rams. And I'll show you guys. I'll take you through the fish room in a little bit. But dwarf cichlids are my personal choice of fish. But there's a lot of Plecos in here. There's a lot of Guppies, Antlers, Cories. I've even got a couple of big ones left. I got a super red Texas, Julies, so some dwarf Africans.
Wow.
Bettas. My wife decided to order like 7 pairs of bettas in a week, so just a bunch of bettas now. So, yeah, they're coming, and I didn't set up my rack, so here.
That's crazy.
A little bit of everything.
Question in the chat from ABC Aquatics Biotop Creations. Kenny asked if you have any native fish.
I don't. I have kept them in the past, but as of right now, I don't. There are very few fish in here I keep for myself at this point, just because I'm so heavy into the vending side of things and the selling side of things. So I ship fish out. My platform is banned, so I use banned groups, sell fish that way, do a bunch of stuff like some giveaways. But yeah, no natives, not right now anyway. I've got a couple of big tanks coming down, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do with those.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to fill them up, fill that space up.
Yeah, I might get a couple flower horns again. I had flower horns in the past, and I enjoyed them.
hey, Stephanie, another panel member in the chat. She had let us know she had to be with family, but she's lurking and sneaking and looking at us, I think. So.
Have you ever bred the flower horns?
I had a pair that would lay, and they would fertilize the eggs. It was a pair of fireman streams. I'll always appreciate that pair, but they would always eat the eggs before I'd pull them. And it'd be like, I'd see them come back an hour later and they're done. So I didn't know if it was them being overly defensive because I was, poking around in the tank or whatever, but they would lay all the time. I ended up letting the pair go as I was transitioning away from larger fish into smaller fish. But I will say when it comes to breeding flower horns, it really matters where they come from and the quality of the fish, because a lot of times, a lot of these store sold flower horns are infertile. The female might lay eggs, but the males will not be fertile. So you got to get good stock and make it really warm, like 86 degrees.
Wow.
It kind of surprised me, or not surprised me, but I wondered why over the last year or so that you've gone from larger fish to smaller fish. So is it just what you can sell or what's in demand, or?
Yes and no. It's a lot of it's what's for sale and what's in demand, right? Because everybody's got a 10 or a 20-gallon tank, but not many people have like 125. But it's also the way I've transitioned in the hobby. So I love the big fish. I like the personality, and I'll show you Fluffy. So Fluffy's a 14-year-old green Texas cichlid in a minute. And he's awesome. He's like my little fish room buddy. And he's a pet. But as far as transitioning, I started to fall in love with the pistogramma, and they were a hard species to find around here. A lot of stores don't carry them, so I had to find them and bring them in. And now that's my big thing, pistos. So that was the big thing. It was the pistos really that made the shift, and plecos. I'll show you some of the plecos I have too.
Awesome.
Wow.
So you also had some star sapphire cichlids too at one point.
Yep, I used to have Africans too. As a matter of fact, this tank right here behind me, which now has Stirbai Corridora and just some blue grommy grow outs. Used to house all my Africans. I had a big tank of peacocks that were all 5-6 inches. And I got tired of them killing each other. That was the thing with the African.
The reason why I brought that up is because I bought those off of you, and it was my mistake. The quality of his fish are great.
I appreciate that.
At the time, whenever I got them, I was, I guess you'd say, ignorant because I didn't know what they needed for water parameters because they needed harder water, and I didn't know that my water was soft. Well, I had made a mistake, but the quality of his fish are pretty good. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Appreciate that. I tried my best. So,
Now, did you have the starry cichlid that was in the competition?
No, I didn't enter the contest. So that was my first show. It was the Keystone Clash. So never having been part of a fish show, I wanted to experience it before I entered it myself. I kind of regretted that afterwards. There's a couple of fish that I still have here. I would have loved to enter into the show, and he probably would have done pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you in July, they're going to put out the how you enter your fish in if you're interested. Because there's going to be like over 300 spots in this show this year. It's
Wow.
nuts.
So you have triple red pistos, I imagine.
I've got right now I do have triple reds. I've also got super reds. I've got orange flash. I've got a pair of hung sloy. What else do I have? Got black rams, blue rams. I have a pair of Epistogramma cinelabra, which you probably never heard of. That's pretty much it. I'm actually kind of light on Epistos for what I like to be. Usually I'd have like 15 or 20 species.
Wow.
But I had some stuff happen in the fish and I sold off a lot of them.
I got some reds at a fish film auction. We had to help a fish film member out a few months ago, and they're already trying to spawn. They're gorgeous. I love them. I can't believe that quick. I mean, they were juveniles, so I love them.
Yeah, they actually, Epistos, oddly enough, breed better when they're smaller. So about 1.5 to 2 inches is their prime breeding state. When they start getting big and like fully adult grown, they actually slow down a lot, and their spawns become a lot less viable.
Huh.
Younger pairs are better.
I have a single pair of the orange flash that I got from someone who bought them off of that same auction. They shared a pair with me. They're beautiful little fish. That's the first time I've ever had a pistos.
Yeah, no, they were really popular, probably like 8-9 years ago. Then the whole monster fish craze kind of gripped the hobby, so everyone started keeping big fish, and they kind of fell into obscurity with a lot of the smaller fish. But recently there's been a big uptick in like nano tanks or smaller tanks.
Mm-hmm.
So pistos are one of those things, like if you want to keep cichlids, but all you've got is a 10 or a 20-gallon tank, you can keep a pistos. You can put a pair of them in a 10-gallon by themselves, and that's actually how they're usually spawned. Smaller tanks better, keep them in proximity. The males can get a little aggressive, but when they're going to spawn, the females will turn like bright yellow. It's really nice. Look at that really bright yellow body color to them. But if you get more, you can want cichlids, pistos, or rams. You can do rams.
Have you had any experience with the blue steel pistos?
They are a Pistogramma agassizii blue steel. They are probably one of the most common pistos that you'll find in a store. I've kept them in the past. My local store here in Harrisburg, Zoomania, got them in, so I bought a couple. They did okay for a while, but ultimately I didn't pick them up again after I lost that trio.
Well, I got a small group from Dan's, and we all know his fish are awesome. And
I ordered fish from him before.
Yeah, and he had didn't have any females. Supposedly females were hard to find a couple 3 years ago, but so he sent me a group of 4 males, and as they grew out, after about a year, one turned out to be a female. She spawned several times, had a couple daughters. They spawned out, but I have finally lost that whole colony. I sent some to another fish keeper a few months ago, and I think she's lost them, or almost all of them too. The fry just don't sustain, so I didn't know if you'd had any experience with that too. Weird.
Not with the pistos necessarily, but like multis. So I got a colony of multis a couple of years ago, and they just kept breeding out. I'd sell the big fish and keep the smaller ones, grow them out, let them spawn. And Then after a couple of generations, they kind of started to not do great. So it could just be inbreeding. You got to think when we get a lot of these fish, they're coming from fish farms.
Right.
So maybe the genetics aren't the greatest to start with.
Right.
So eventually down the line, that'll catch up.
Chewy's asking, do you know about the other South American dwarf cichlid species like checkerboard cichlids and Aquarium?
Yep, I have actually considered keeping the checkerboard cichlids. I like them. They kind of look like little jaguar cichlids to me. And if you've known me for a little while, I had a monster pair of jaguar cichlids for a long, long time. They've since been given to somebody else to care for. But yeah, I've considered it. Like I said, I have black and blue rams as well, and a couple gold rams.
Nice.
A lot of cool dwarf cichlids out there, and it's a pretty interesting thing once you start getting into it. There's so many species. It's kind of mind-blowing.
I've got a pair of, they're getting to be giant. They're really big jaguars. It's the first time I've ever kept them, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite fish. I love the Parachromis as a general whole. I mean, there's a lot of really cool fish, but they're large and they're very aggressive.
I don't see any other questions or comments. Is it too soon to do a tour and maybe then come back to this?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. Forgive all the camera techniques about the All right.
Nice racks. Yeah.
We'll just start right here. Are we? Nope, there we go. Now we're right side up.
Looks good.
So these are blue opaline grommies. These are actually locally bred. So everything in here is locally bred. Even though I do buy a lot of fish, I don't buy them wholesale anymore. I had too many bad experiences and the quality's just not there. So like I was saying before, the hobby's really big here. So I'm able to buy everything from a breeder. Even if I haven't bred it, somebody around me is. Got some Geophagus redhead Tapaho grow outs here.
Nice.
Nice.
Now in here, they're very small. These are mini ranger Plecos, and they stay very small. So there's about 20 of them in here. You can see them covering that algae wafer I put in there. But these guys are really cool. I actually got these from somebody else on Band. And if you guys don't have Band, I would check it out because you get some really, really cool fish and some stuff maybe you don't see locally. Just some angels from a local breeder. Nice
Our
local
local Chattanooga club has a band and always some cool stuff on there.
There you go. These are my black rams. They're just growing out. I got a bunch of them. You can see a couple of gold ones in there. So this is a big thing for me. Black rams were something I've wanted for a long time, but it's hard to justify the price sometimes. And I knew if I wanted breeders, I'd have to buy a bunch of them. But I was finally able to find a good deal on some really good ones. So I decided I'd scoop them up and grow them out. So far, they're doing pretty good.
Now, is there a purpose why that gold one is in there?
So black rams will breed gold rams. And what I mean by that is black rams will throw gold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they came from the same batch.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Mickham saying in the chat that you're probably talking about two different blue steel pistos. Bob's steel blue pistos are a Aragonite type.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the Agassizi.
Yeah.
Now, they're also small, but in here are some Wabenmünster Plecos. So the honeycomb Pleco. These guys are awesome when they get big. And I actually have a pair coming, a proven pair coming next week. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Do you know their L number, Dylan?
I do not know their L number off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know L numbers either. Just trying
I
to
do
learn
for some of them. But if they have a common name, that's probably what I know them by.
Me too. Yeah.
So we've got Snow Whites in here. So there's two trios. Well, you can't really tell, or at least I can't from my camera angle, but they're pretty big. These are proven trios.
They look
So
nice.
male's hanging out there in the cave. He's not a fan of eggs. Did a cold water change today, so hopefully that'll change. let's see. The only things in here are a couple of common Plecos, and there's a blood parrot somewhere. So this is 125. This tank's coming down. Set up differently. Here's my super red Texas.
Oh,
He's pretty.
So she's a good, I don't know, 8-9 inches. So these are the remnants of my big fish. Every fishery needs a step stool. So in here we've got a bunch of bronze cories and some L168 Plecos. So I actually got these at the Delaware County Aquarium Club swap meet. There's also some blue star antlers. You see a nice male there. So this is 40 breeder.
I've noticed you have some sponges that aren't operational and sitting in tanks. Is that to seed them?
They've just come out of other tanks, and I just dropped them in another tank to keep them wet.
Keep them wet, yeah.
So there are longfin, green dragon plecos, and albino cories in here. So the longfins are the Greg Sage line. So Select Aquatics. There's a couple of triple red epistos in here, just a couple. But you can see I'm using a lot of 40 breeders for the plecos. And at the bottom of all these racks are 40 breeders.
these green ones are nice.
These are metal racks that I buy from Home Depot. So I was building them all. Like you can see, this one's made out of 2x6s. That one's made out of 2x6s. That one's made out of 2x4s. I was building them, but when lumber got really expensive, it just wasn't worth the work and the lumber. So I just started buying the stands.
Absolutely.
Got some rainbow cichlids here. I guess I would probably consider them a dwarf cichlid. They don't get too big. But they're called rainbow cichlids because of how brightly colored they get when they're ready to spawn. And about last week, I had one of the males in here, this big guy, got bright yellow and started terrorizing the tank. So I'm going to have to start pairing them out too. But I got these guys off Aquabait a long time ago. Teeny tiny little things. And they've grown out quite nicely.
I keep those guys still, and I love them.
Yeah, me too.
That bag that's in there, is that a bag of Aragonite?
Crushed coral.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like to, so this was a guppy tank, so I like to harden them up. I have pretty soft water, so some tanks had to harden up. So we got half black green guppies. So there's two pairs in here. Again, I got these from one of the last swaps I went to. A really nice strain. Looks like the males are all hiding, but these are violet Cobra guppies. They got a really, really nice pattern to them. There's a bunch of fry in here, so throwing them out. Then somewhere in here, there's 10 or 15 blue rams. There we go. So they're grow outs too. They're small. I gave a friend of mine a pair 2 weeks ago, the biggest pair, and they ended up spawning last week. Yeah. Got rainbow tiger antlers. These guys are really pretty, and it's a different kind of antler. It's not the wild type. It's the man-made type, if you would. But they are extremely prolific, and there's just a ton of them in there. There are also, I don't know if you can see them, some crystal red shrimp down there. Somebody gave me those. I am not historically a fish keeper, and as I said, my water's pretty soft. So I haven't done great with shrimp. But I do have those crystal reds that are doing good, and I also have some blue dreams. These are black tuxedo koi.
Pretty too.
There's one of the shrimp. You can see there's one of the shrimp hanging out on that leaf there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. They're all back there clustered on top of that algae wafer.
What are the floaters?
It's all duckweed. Duckweed is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, it is.
I love duckweed. Everybody hates it. I love it because
I love it. Yeah.
it does a lot for the tank. It provides cover for the fish, provides food sometimes, and it makes it so I don't have to change quite so much water.
Yep.
It also helps with evaporation. In case you haven't noticed, I don't have many lids.
Yep.
So it definitely helps a lot with evaporation, keeping the water covered like that. In here we have El Tigre antlers. So another very prolific strain. There's two bloodlines in here, so they got mixed. which is good because when you mix bloodlines, you strengthen the genetics of the fish. Now, these are interesting. These are ginger rubra guppies. These actually came out of Rachel O'Leary's fish room. So
What's their name?
Ginger rubra.
Ginger River.
Pretty.
I remember those in her videos.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, they're awesome. Then we'll go over to the emergency beta rack, which is just a 20-gallon long stand with 5-gallon tanks on it. So, admittedly, this one's mine. This is a black samurai.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Then we have the other, admittedly mine one, the red samurai. I couldn't decide between the two, so I ordered both.
That's how you do it. It's hard to pick one male betta.
It is. I actually got pairs of them. These are gray alien bettas, so these are more your wild type.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a blue rim in here. It's one of my wife's bettas.
Oh, it's pretty.
Very interested.
Nice camera.
And we've got this nice boy here. She won him in a raffle because she just couldn't help herself.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Now that wild type, you can leave several of them together, can't you?
Yes, you can, and both the male and female are in this tank because they will not kill each other. They're peaceful. Over here, these are the ever-famous Aquarium Co-op Vienna Guppies.
Oh yeah.
So we got 8 try about a year ago. Somebody in Washington bred them out, and we grew them out and started breeding them. We split the colony, which was good. So I have a friend of mine that breeds fish for me, mostly entirely guppies, because I can only keep so many strains in the fish room at a time. So he does that for me, and we split them, and he lost his entire tank to a heater malfunction. Now I heat the room, right? That mini split there heats the room. So unless it's something that requires extra heat, I do not have heaters in the tank. But it was good because I was able to give him a couple pairs back, and he now has another colony. So I love these guys all the way from Washington State.
Wow. It's a beautiful tank, too.
Yeah. I don't scape tanks, just as an FYI to everybody, if you haven't noticed. So in here, there are triple red pistos. A lot of these are grow outs. There's a couple that are larger. Like there's a nice one getting color.
Oh. Okay.
The tank is empty.
They have the cutest little attitudes.
Yeah, they do. They're like, hey, this is my
I'm very
Look at me, I'm ready.
I love the ones I have. They're beautiful.
The pistos they're just awesome fish, and they have some of the nicest colors you'll find in fish.
Later, Paul.
There's another beta. This is copper black.
Ooh.
It's been in here for a while. This is an FCCP red female.
Beautiful.
So these tanks are coming down. This actual entire rack is coming down. This is an FCCP yellow. And there is a female, a pisto. This, have you seen this engine? However you say that down there? Oh, we've got jumbo mosaic guppies. You have an empty tank. There are some bluegrass in here. Bluegrass guppies.
Those are pretty.
So I routinely set up and take down tanks. As they kind of age out, there's a pair of Nissenji in this tank somewhere. They're rather unhappy. I was putting cold water in their tanks.
No.
I don't see where he went, but this is where the Pistogramma cinelabra live.
Okay.
They were out earlier, and then here's my convoy. Down here, my light's not working, unfortunately. Fluffy is also unhappy. He pouts when he gets water changes.
See the green terror?
He is a green Texas.
Texas.
Which, fun fact, is the only cichlid endemic to the United States.
Yep.
We've got some black metal lace guppies in here. I sincerely doubt I'm going to find one, but there's 8 or 9 pretty sizable L333 king tiger plecos in here, the yellow variety. And they don't come out too much. I saw them earlier, but they do what plecos do and hide. And unfortunately, there's no lights on these tanks. This rack's coming down. I've also turned off most of the air to the fish room just because of noise. But there's some longfin albino bristlenose and some Antlers in there. There are some Japan blue swordtail Antlers in there. There is an absolutely invisible pair of Epistogramma trifasciata in this tank. Yeah, the algae doesn't help. It's a good old mutt guppy tank, and again, I apologize, there's no lights on these tanks, but in the middle of taking this rack down, there are yellow Cobra guppies somewhere in here behind the glare. And I have my orange flash pistos in there, and my super red tapetoides in there somewhere in the dark.
Now, when you say you're taking these racks down, are you not putting anything back in their place?
So this rack is old. I built it and I didn't reinforce it enough, and it's kind of hard to tell, but it bows.
Okay.
This rack held 21 20-gallon talls at one point. So it's starting to bow, so I've been taking everything off of it. I'm going to reinforce it and put it back up.
Oh,
if a rack comes down, a rack goes back up, right? So I don't leave tanks empty for too long. And this rack just has to get moved. So yeah, that is the grand old fish room tour.
I noticed a lot of the tanks are bare bottom, and then you do have substrate in some.
Some of them have substrate. It depends what was put in there originally. So some tanks get set up a certain way for the fish that are going in them. If they come out of them and I need the tank, something else will go in there. But for me, there's just too much stuff in here for me to be rinsing sand and putting sand in everything. Not to mention it's a lot easier to clean the tank when there's no substrate on it.
Exactly. So what's your favorite fish among all those?
Probably Fluffy. He's my buddy, my fish room buddy. You're real partial to these snow whites. They're just an awesome fish. They were fucking this Pleco. I got really lucky. I spent a lot of money on them. So we still got them for a good price. There's a lot of things in here I like. I'm a fish nerd to the end. So, if it's a cool looking fish, I probably like it. My favorite thing changes all the time.
Yeah. Was Fluffy named by one of the little ones?
What's that?
How did Fluffy get his name?
He was actually named by the person that had him before me.
Oh.
Yep, it was my buddy Chris Matsko. He named him Fluffy. His daughter named him Fluffy.
Okay.
So that's how he got his name, was Chris's daughter. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera back around.
There was a question in the chat. I think it was, why are we always young? Was wanting to know if you were in the military.
I was a Marine. I did 4 years active duty. My wife is also in the military. She is active duty National Guard in Pennsylvania. She's a staff sergeant. So we are both military.
Nice.
So you're still in?
No, I did my 4 years out of high school, got what I needed to get out of the military, learned a lot, and got out.
And you were in the Army? Is that what you said?
My wife is in the Army. I was in the Marine Corps.
Marines. Okay, I couldn't remember. All right.
When I was in high school, I just was like, all right, I'm going to pick the hardest one. And that's what everyone said was the hardest, and that was the whole deciding factor. I called the recruiter, and I was asking him questions, and he's like trying to sell it. And I was like, I don't think you understand why I'm calling you. I'm going to join. It's just a matter of how do I do it.
They're not used to that.
No, they're not. Usually they have to convince somebody, and I was not one of them. I was the easiest recruit in history.
My husband was a former Marine too.
Okay.
So who outranks who there, Dylan?
We all know how marriages work. I do whatever my wife asks me to.
If you're talking military, it's probably her now since he's not in anymore.
Has nothing to do with that.
But you don't have to have stripes to be the boss.
That's the truth. I was just curious which of you had achieved what rank. That's all.
Oh man, that was a good one.
So what plans do you have going forward? You've told us what you're doing. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I'm in the middle of taking racks down. I've done a lot. This fishing was very different about a month ago. So I've still got tanks sitting in my driveway that I still need to finish cleaning out. It's taking down more racks, put more racks up, kind of rearranging it to work better. You can see the PVC air loop up there on the ceiling above the rack. So that was a thing that I did.
yeah.
And
That makes it so much nicer.
Yeah, I had separate baffles for each rack. So I have 3 diaphragm pumps, 3 Gemco diaphragm pumps, and each pump was running a rack, which was way too much air for each rack because those pumps are meant for like 50, 60 tanks.
Right.
So it was way too much air. So I am rearranging the fish room with a purpose in mind and like a design in mind. And so like where the 125s are, where the Texas cichlid was, and the parrot, that's coming down, and the rack that's over here that had a couple of the betas in it is going there instead. Because I already have the drops, I just have to put the tanks over there, and then I'll probably put the 125s somewhere in the middle. I have a lot of space here in front of me, between me and the garage door. Oh, so yeah, my fish room's in a garage, for those of you that don't know, which has kind of occasionally been a challenge. So heating it in the winter is a little tough. But
Yeah,
I've got some work to do to winterize this. It's been 2 years that I've struggled by on extra heat, space heater, stuff like that. So I've got to finish insulating the garage door. I've got to finish the attic ceiling. So there's an attic above this garage, which is nice because I can keep all of my fish swap gear up there.
Yep.
And I don't have to have all the boxes and stuff like that down here. But I'm going to finish the ceiling, and that should help insulate a lot. I'm also going to put up the reflective styrofoam insulation all up on the ceiling, because most of the heat ends up in the attic.
Right.
And
I insulated my husband's just a regular shed outside because he spends a lot of time in it. He gave me his den, and now that's my fish cave. So he got a shed, and he sits out there and does his music and his beer and all that stuff. But there's a huge difference in the temperature in his shed and the shed next door to it. Because that one's not insulated. A big difference.
Yeah, I mean, this room's insulated. The whole garage is insulated. It's just large. For that mini split, it's a little too much. So the contractor we used to hire did not do a great job. And we've had a lot of problems with it, and it's gone out a couple times. Fortunately, never in the winter. He's always showed up and patched it back up. But yeah, so that's a little bit too small of a unit for what it needs to keep. But after it's 40 degrees outside, it's fine. But anything lower than 40, it struggles.
You have to have
I think it's cold up there.
It does get cold. We had a pretty mild winter, but it still gets really cold. Not as bad as when I lived in New York. So I'm originally from upstate New York, and it gets really cold there.
Yeah, Rico stands up that way by the lakes.
Yep, I don't mess with the lake effect snow. They'll get feet of snow.
You said that you sell fish, that you're a vendor, with the swaps and so forth. Do you sell them online? Do you ship?
I do. If you join my band, which if you download the band app and search for Veteran Aquatics, it will come up. I don't know if I minimize this, if I'm going to disappear, but I can get a link and put it in the chat.
Mick M asked, what's your dream fish next to get?
What's that?
What is your dream fish that you want to get next? Or
Dream
sometime, not next maybe, but just whenever.
I don't know. And I say that because a lot of the dream fish I've had or I've wanted, I've already had. So red Otavo pike cichlids. I love pike cichlids. They're big, they're mean, they're streamlined, they're aggressive. I had a couple red Otavos for a while. That was a big one. Snow White Plecos bucket list, and I've got those now. I've also got, I didn't show them for whatever reason, show anything on my top rack, but there's L181 Plecos, the Starlight Bristlenose up there. Maybe like a Sabrina pike. Very colorful pike cichlid, almost a rainbow of colors. But again, pike cichlids, large, aggressive, not bred in aquariums also. There's been a few documented cases for normal-sized pike cichlids in very large aquariums. There are dwarf species of pike cichlids. They have been bred. I've also had those in the past. Yeah, I don't really have much in the way of bucket list fish. Maybe a tiger couple nose if I ever have a 5,000-gallon pond in my garage.
Uh-huh.
I do appreciate large fish. I don't know, it's hard. There's a lot of different fish. There's always something new catching my interest.
All right, I posted your link for you in chat. So I have a question. Okay, whenever I've tried to do this and I got so confused myself, so I'm sure that other people will. How do you find out what you have for sale on band once you get into your band?
I will post stock lists here and there when it's changed. So if you scroll down a little bit past the posts and the video shares and stuff like that, you usually find a stock list. What I haven't been shipping much, and I've been busy with school and, like I said, redoing the fish room. But what I will start doing is pinning stock lists to the top of the band in the announcement section. So like where you see like my DOA policy and my like about me section, there will eventually be a stock list there.
Okay.
It's there. That's what took me so long, Skipper. Thank you for getting it up. I was behind you because I was looking at the band. I'm like, ooh, let me see. So it's up there twice.
Yep. Now, when you said you were going to need 2 tables for vendoring at the Clash, what kinds of fishes are you planning on taking?
Anything I can get a hold of, spawn, and grow big enough before the Clash. So a lot of cories, probably. I'll be getting some cories. And like I said, I buy everything from local breeders. So I have this kind of network of people that breed different things.
Okay.
Actually, next weekend we have a swap meet in the Cichlid Club of York, which is the club that Scott McLaughlin founded. But after that, I'm really going to be just buying up as much from the local breeders as I can. And something that I want to talk about while we're on the subject of like me buying fish and reselling them, there are a lot of people that don't want to ship fish. There are a lot of people that don't want people in their homes. They don't want to sell a pair over and over and over again. They prefer to sell to somebody like me who's willing to do that extra part. And the way that it works for me is it's supporting the local hobbyists, right? Because if nobody's buying fish or they don't know how to sell the fish, they just end up with a ton of fish, and then they lose their, appreciation for that species, right? So like if you breed guppies and you have to keep setting up new tanks because you have 10,000 guppies because you don't know what to do with them, that's a problem. And eventually you probably won't keep guppies again. But that's where somebody like me comes along, and I love the locally bred stuff because it's supporting the local hobby, right? It's supporting all of the local breeders. It's giving them money to go do new projects or do whatever they want. They have an outlet for these fish. And when I sell some things too, I let them know, hey, if you spawn this, I'll buy it back. Like I'll buy the babies after you grow them out. And I do that a lot with pistos. So anytime somebody's breeding pistos, hey, if you want to sell them back to me, I'll gladly take them back. If not, I get it. But yeah, I offer that to everybody because again, sometimes people accidentally breed stuff too, and they don't have room for 20 or 40 pistos. Right? What do I do with them? And that's so. The only reason I talk about that is because it's come up recently that some people don't like people like me. They call me a fish flipper, which isn't necessarily true. I'm just a fish store without a storefront, right? Nobody complains to fish stores that they buy wholesale fish. I don't buy a wholesale fish anymore. I buy local. I get better fish. Like I said, the hobby's huge here, so there's somebody breeding everything all the time.
Well, nice.
Hey, I mean, that's fine. It's great because, like you say, you're helping somebody else out that now they have an outlet and they can expand their interest.
And that's how I look at it. Like I said, I probably went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Sorry, I'm just plugging my phone in. But it came up recently locally that somebody didn't like that. So I just figured for anybody that didn't understand what I was trying to say, I'd explain it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like Dee Dee said, there's nothing wrong with that because there are people that just don't want to deal with that. And for you to be able to do that and be able to house that to help these people out to do it, that is a pretty good thing. And also that gives you a chance, like, if you're already buying them off of that person, if it's something that you really like, you can end up keeping it yourself and really focusing on the breeding of that fish too.
I don't keep anything that I don't like. It is a rare occurrence that I'm keeping something that I truly dislike.
Okay.
I'm pretty picky about what I bring in, so quality is probably the big thing to me. I like finding nice fish that you're not going to find in pet stores, and really disseminating them locally into the hobby. I used to keep a lot of care species too. It was like a pet project of mine when I started, was care species. And if you don't know what cares are, for the people watching, they're like an endangered fish. So they'd be endangered or in danger of becoming endangered in the wild. And hobbyists will keep them, breed them, and further disseminate them in the hobby to keep the populations alive. There are fish that are extinct in the wild, like Guppies, that only have populations in the aquarium hobby.
All right.
One of the distinctions, sorry.
Go ahead.
For me, one of the distinctions between a flipper and someone that's a responsible redistributor is the term that I like, such as yourself, is a flipper will take anything whether they like them or not. They'll take anything whether they're healthy or not, whether they know the source. They just want to get fish and they want to sell fish and make money.
Yep, 100%.
That's the difference.
I'm very picky. If it's bad, I don't keep it. If I don't appreciate it or don't think other people are really going to appreciate it, I won't keep it. Like I said, Pistos were kind of hard to get when I was trying to get into them and nobody else had them. So I've sold so many pairs of Pistos locally that there's a lot of people breeding them now, which is nice to see because it's an awesome fish. And now that more people are breeding it, more people get to keep it and more people get to experience what keeping it like a dwarf cichlid is like.
But what's cool is that you'll carry all these fish to like the clash, and maybe somebody who's in there, like, I'm trying to establish as many Pisto different species as I can get. Now they can go to one table and maybe find 15. But if you carry just what's in your fish room, you might only be able to carry 3 with space.
Yeah,
so I think it's wonderful.
Like I was saying with the Guppies before, a friend of mine, AJ, breeds them for me. I'll buy strains, he'll buy strains, and he'll grow them up, breed them out, and I'll get them back before an event. And I'll keep whatever's left, if there's anything left, and it'll stay in the fish room so that we have split colonies. But yeah, there's only so much room in here, and there's, even with all the tanks I have, there's only so many breeding projects I can focus on. Somebody had asked me before, one of the things that I want to do coming up, one of the projects in here is creating a fry rack. And I saw Veteran Aquatics did one with marine breeder boxes and gutter material, the metal gutters. And I like that. And so I have an idea to combine that with, let's say, Dean Tweeddale, which he breeds. And he's actually done a presentation for my local club on building his fry system. So I took ideas from both of that, and I have an idea of how I want to build it. So that's another project for me. It'll help me rear more fry more successfully than I have been, because as it sits, if I don't have an empty tank, they have to go in a breeder box, and I'd prefer not to put fry in a little teeny tiny box if I can help it.
Right.
A
lot of people have copied Dean's idea.
Yeah.
Just because it's good.
Mm-hmm.
That is
It sounds like, well, it didn't sound like, obviously you know where all the fish are coming from. How does that affect quarantine, or do you hold them and watch them, or?
It doesn't matter where it comes from. Everything gets quarantined. So I do not have quarantine tanks. What I do have are empty tanks all the time. Right. There's always a couple of empty tanks where if I know I'm getting fish, I'll empty tanks out, I'll move stuff around, I'll give things away, or whatever I have to do to make the space. I don't have quarantine tanks. I just put them in an empty tank by themselves, and they stay with me for usually 2 weeks at a minimum, but I like a month. So like after this next show next weekend, I will begin gearing up for the Clash. And I actually don't have a lot of fish right now compared to what I would usually have. Usually every one of these tanks will be packed. But coming up on the Clash, I will be getting as much as humanly possible. And if you come see me in 2 months, you're going to see a ton of fish in here.
Awesome. Now, the fish that you're going to take to the Clash, do you take the same fish to the club swamps?
It depends what I have. What I keep and what I have rotates very often. So I'll keep something for a while, I'll sell it for a while, and then I'll, after, I don't know, 6 months, a year maybe, sometimes 3 months, I'll sell off whatever I have left and I won't have it again for a while. But doing that allows me to bring new things in all the time, so I'm not selling the same stuff over and over and over again. Because eventually, like I said, everyone buys it, they breed it, and some of them might sell it back to me, but not all of them. And there's a lot of other fish sellers around. So they'll start selling them, and then now there's a bunch of them in the market, and there's other people selling them. So again, my thing is bringing in stuff that you won't find in other places or that's not commonly found. So I'll just rotate it out, and I'll get something else, and I'll keep something different that I liked maybe, that I saw, and I was like, wow, that's not around here. Maybe I should get some of those, like the snow whites. There's a couple people that have them, but not many. So when I got the opportunity to get the trios, the adult trios, I was like, okay, I'll take that because, one, I've wanted them, and two, there's not a lot of people breeding them, so there's more market for it. So I'll sell those for however long, and once everyone starts breeding them, because they are bristlenose, so they'll spawn pretty easy, then I'll probably keep these ones. These ones, they cost too much to get rid of, but I would inevitably sell the pairs that I have to make room for something new, because I can only set up so many tanks. There's almost 100 in here, and it's a lot. I don't have an auto water change system.
Oh.
I have a submersible pool pump and a garden hose.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's rough, I know. I had 80 and I was down to 77, and I closed 4 more that are connected in a rack. So what's that, 73? So I'm getting down, but I'm putting reptiles in.
Yeah, I saw. I've actually been considering putting some corn snakes in here because the atmosphere is about right for them.
Yeah, it is.
The dehumidifier, it's about 50-60% humidity. 82 degrees in the summer. It gets a little bit cooler in the winter.
Yep.
So I was thinking about it because I like snakes. I've kept snakes in the past.
Yeah, awesome. Well, they're going to start telling me that our time is up, or that we've got 5 minutes. So I beat them to it. 2 minutes, Skipper says.
2 minutes.
So if anybody's got any other, Pam says 1 minute. She's rushing. She's giving us the bums rush. Thanks, Pam. And how are you, Pam?
Busy. It's working.
Can you tell us real quick in 1 minute what you've got going on Wednesday?
Wednesday is my birthday stream, and I'm going to give away a bunch of stuff, which is what I'm working on right now, is stuff to give away.
Okay.
It's
Awesome.
going to be fun.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Dylan, thank you so much. I know this is not your usual thing, and I really appreciate you coming through for us.
I mean, I love talking about fish and do it for hours on end. So
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Maybe when you load up in a few months or you restart, not that this wasn't an awesome tour, it was, we'll have you back again. I always put people on the spot while I've got them in front of 30 people.
Anytime you want me to.
Awesome. Thank you, Dylan. We appreciate you. And thank you, everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys for showing up here. And the moderators, awesome. And see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.